You say that if this is changed in this budget, if it's changed to 23%, then it can, no matter what evidence becomes available or no matter what the impact is on people being able to afford supplements, another government comes in place, whatever, we cannot change that back to zero.
That's a very acute observation. Yes, that's true because of the peculiarities of VAT law, and I'll turn you over to Kevin here. It appears that if we break that continuity of the allowance of zero VAT for a product, then the EU would say, no, you can't re-establish it. And I'll give you confirmation there from Kevin on that one.
Yeah. So under the EU VAT directive, certain member states were allowed a derogation from the minimum reduced VAT rates. And the cut-off date was the 1st of January 1991. So Ireland, who had a zero rate for food on the 1st of January 1991, and at that time that included food supplements, under Revenue's own interpretation of the VAT Act, which was repeated in their guidance throughout the years. So the products that were permitted to be zero rated at that time could continue to be zero rated, but after that date we can't bring in any new zero rates. So if we were to include food supplements now in new legislation, to exclude them from the zero rate the same way as other products are excluded, for example sweets, crisps, cakes and biscuits, although they are afforded a reduced rate, thereafter we would not be able to change that legislation and reintroduce them at the zero rate, because that would be in effect introducing a new VAT rate. Whereas the fact is that on the 1st of January 1991 these products were food. They were entitled to the zero VAT rate under EU rules. And I'd just like to make one point, that we're actually, by Revenue claiming that there's a concession, we're actually in an extraordinary situation where Ireland was treating VAT supplements as food and we were complying with EU VAT legislation. But by claiming there's a concession, we would, if there was a concession, we would be in breach of EU rules and we're possibly open to EU infringement proceedings. So.
But there isn't, and I think that's the whole key to it, that we're giving away, and as a government and as Revenue, we're giving away our authority on this. We're giving away any scope that we might have to change our minds once the impact has been studied.
It's up to Irish authorities to interpret national legislation. And if we always interpreted national legislation to include food as food. And if we were to change that, there would be other types of food which are non-conventional food or not ordinary everyday food. For example, food-grade chemicals. They're zero rated at the moment. All these numbers from E100 up to E900. Revenue considers them to be food, but they're not ordinary conventional food. But they are still food under the umbrella term of food, and as such zero rated. And they can only be not zero rated by being excluded from the food and drink table that's in the VAT legislation. That's the only way a food can't be zero rated.
So we're looking at a situation then, if you have the 23% plus the 12% tariffs that may come in if we have a hard Brexit, of 35% increase to people who are taking supplements, and people take supplements because they need them in the main. The serious consequences of that, I think, is to correct what we would say, or what you said is an administrative error, is quite daunting. And then, see, it makes no sense whatsoever. Then if you can buy these supplements online and have 3% VAT, you know, so you're giving away all of that as well. It's crazy. And the jobs that are created by health food stores, and we have them in all. We have a great health food store in Balmullet, you know, as well as the chemists there who supply these health food and employ local people and all that. So even looking at it just purely economically, it makes no sense whatsoever. I mean,
just having sat on the HPRA committee on herbs and medicines, I think the other thing it opens up is vast amounts of committees' time and paper will be involved in deciding what's a food and what's a supplement and what's a medicine. And it opens up. I've been to the EU where they were debating whether prunes were a laxative, and according to the EFSA, And this had gone on for 4 or 5 years as to whether there is no evidence that prunes are a laxative. Therefore, the EFSA, according to the regulations, had to state that this was not a health food. This went on a long time because upon this case rested many other things. So good luck with the amount of administration and people hours and paper that will go into what is such a minor change is going to be phenomenally difficult. The same applies to herbal teas and medicines. What's a botanical, what's a food? There are 3 different lists in the EU. There's the Belfric list. Really, it's huge what you're opening up.
Yeah, bureaucracy gone absolutely insane. And unfortunately, the people, we have to pay for it in the first instance, and then the people who need these supplements are the ones that really pay the ultimate price for it.
It's the people who want to look after themselves and prevent health problems.
Yeah. I want to ask you just maybe in relation to, say, celiac disease, for instance. How dependent on supplements would people with celiac disease be?
Celiac foods won't be affected. The celiac food products, gluten-free food products will remain as a food. I don't think there'd be any controversy about that.
So what would you see as the main maybe cohort of people who would be affected and people who would have particular types of diseases who would need supplements on a regular basis?
Patients on statins, many of them take CoQ10, which is an evidence-based replacement of something which is caused to be deficient due to taking statins. People with iron problems who cannot tolerate gastrointestinal side effects of the pharma, Galfer or Fiospan or any of those, and many of them can actually tolerate food-based iron. That would be another huge category. Vitamin D for the over 65s, essential fatty acids for anybody who's not eating oily fish and good oils in their diet. They would choose vegans and vegetarians. There's a massive movement towards vegan and vegetarianism, which is very deplete in omega-3, 6 and 9 fatty acids. So they are choosing to change their diet and replace these essential elements by using food supplements in a knowledgeable way. They would be some examples. Children's multivitamins and vitamin D. We don't pay enough attention to vitamin D. All other countries above the latitude, at the latitude and above, their governments actually advise all of their population to take vitamin D.
And then if we're looking here in terms of the populations, we have the population that are on statins, for instance.
Yeah.
I'd imagine that's very high. We don't have a figure on that, do we, in this state of how many people
I don't currently have
are actually receive statins?
If I could contribute there is a very well established, and there's a noted Irish academic who spoke in this vicinity only a couple of days ago, and his speciality is research on age-related macular degeneration, so the degeneration of the back part of the eye, and it's a leading cause of blindness in Ireland in the over 50s. Now, he has studied this for years, and he's actually a leading researcher on the matter in the world and presents his research internationally. He's based in WIT. Now, what he determined is that if in this one condition alone, if we just chose that as a single example, he estimates that were you to do the correct level of supplementation with carotenoids, which are his area of speciality, and you were to give those supplements free to the sufferers of this cause of blindness in Ireland, it would cost you over 5 years 93 million to do that. However, the state would save over the same period of time 210 million, because the expensive treatment, which is the only recourse that you have as this disease progresses, is enormous, and it's a huge cost to the state. He reckons every year blindness costs Ireland 135 million. So there's an enormous cost benefit to the state to encourage people to take these types of supplements and to prevent not only the decimation of their own quality of life, but to prevent the excessive and extreme cost that it takes to try to hold on to vision for these people. So even if you were to just choose one product alone, one area alone, that would have to be it, because of the debilitating effect of blindness on people and their quality of life. And here we have the state being lumbered with an enormous cost to try to make up the shortfall when things become where they need medical intervention.
Another huge area is probiotics, where most doctors are now prescribing or advising people to go to their health food store to have probiotics. Whether you call it a medicine or a food, is exactly those kind of middle grounds. There's huge research done, again, international presentations by Cork University Hospital. The other thing I can say is that because that particular brand has research, it's sold mainly through agencies which require them to be 2 or 3 times the price to the ordinary customer in the street. Now, that's be as it may, but you're going to have a huge argument between what's a food and what's a medicine. And people can be advised by their doctor to go to the health food store, and increasingly they are, to have a probiotic after a regular course of antibiotics.
That's right, yeah, and I know, and I'm going to finish this, but I can see here where the widening of the inequality between these food supplements are already expensive. To add more expense onto them is going to further marginalise those who can afford them and those who can't.